Hi, folks. We've got 8 days until the end of the year. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to do a little bit of coding stuff that's going to kind of do a little introduction into some of the things that we do in the POE class next year in the PLTW engineering curriculum. And learn a little bit about coding, which is an important part of the engineering process. Everybody should really know how to code a little bit and understand how that works. Plus, it helps with your critical thinking skills and your logic. So you're going to go to Vexcode VR, which I've got here. You can close this tutorial window if it pops up because we're going to go there anyway. And the first thing that I am going to ask you to do is to go up here to tutorials. We're going to learn a little bit about how this works. I'm going to ask you to watch 7 of these videos. So what I'd like you to do is pause this, this video. I'll keep this up here, and you're going to watch these 7 videos. Each one of them is less than 2 minutes long on average-ish, so it shouldn't take you that long. So again, you're going to pause this video here. I'll put that back, and you're going to watch after you've gone to tutorials, and you're going to watch those 7. Okay, so hopefully you've learned a little bit about how the blocks kind of work and the playground windows, and now we're going to start practicing our coding a little bit. So I'm going to go back to here. Now, right now, this is just our coding window that we can drag things into. We have a little rule that we've found that is that the robot can be painfully slow. So I always start by setting my drive velocity and my turn velocity to 100%. So let's go ahead and drag those up here. Set my drive velocity and my turn velocity to 100%. That way it's just going to not be quite so slow. Okay. All right. Now let's go ahead and bring down a playground. We're going to use the art canvas playground. So that's what this thing looks like. Now the art canvas playground has, if we look at the cameras, has some walls around it. There's also various camera views. Now, actually I might go to the grid map. I'm going to look at what we need to do here. Let's just start with the grid map playground. Now you can also notice that you can make this larger or smaller. You can also hide it while you're working on your coding. There's different camera angles down here, and you already learned about what these different things are that tell you your heading and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to start today by doing something pretty basic and drawing your initials. Now you can do, you know, like for example, for me, I've got a B in my name. So, so for me, doing those curves is a little bit tricky. Now you can do all kind of block lettering if you want. You know, I could make my B just kind of squares, you know, to do that. But you've got all these things, and you're just going to have to play around with it. I'm going to start by driving forward for about 200 millimeters. Now, that's important that you understand that I'm driving for 200 millimeters. The word for is actually important in coding. It does a certain set of things instead of just one thing. Now, if I didn't do that and I said just drive forward, what's going to happen is if I drive forward, it's just never going to stop. It's just going to go until it hits the wall, and then it's going to like, oh my God, and crash and all sorts of craziness. Okay. So we want to go drive forward for a specific amount. Now I'm going to turn right. I'm going to drive forward again for that same amount because I just don't want them to start in the corner. And then I'm going to turn left for 90 degrees. And that is where I'm going to start with drawing my initials. So let's start with that. Now I don't know why the robot's male. but I call him a he, so it just is. So we're going to start with that, and then you're going to put down, look at these different things that you've got in your control. And one of them is looks. Okay. Now you can set your print color to whatever color you want. I think I'll make mine green. I just like it. And then we're going to put our pin color down, or our robot pin. So the robot's got a little pin in it that can move down that you can draw with. You can also move the robot pin up when you're ready to not draw. So, and now if I move forward again, so let's go back to our drivetrain, and we'll drive forward for, let's go 400, just to show how this works. And so now when I start this, notice that it does not draw that. I don't know why it's a black line. It should be green. Interesting. I set my print color to green. Oh, maybe that's not the pin color. Oh, I did. The print color is what it's going to print, and we'll get into that later. Whoops. Let's set the robot pin color to green. There we go. Okay, now it should do what I want it to do. All right. Now, I'm going to, let's say I wanted to make the side of the B. So I'm going to go up. I don't know, probably, let's go 1200. I believe it's a 2000 millimeter, or so we should go. And a little bit of this can be trial and error. Okay. Now I can draw my B by turning to the right, going, turning down, going. So there's two ways to do that. One is that you can turn your heading. Okay. You can set your drive heading to certain degrees, and that's a 360-degree compass going all the way around. So I believe it's clockwise fashion. You'll have to play around with that a little bit. So, or you can just keep turning a certain number of degrees until you get back to where you start. So if you want to be tricky about this, and I want to make curved letters, and again, this is some trial and error. I'm going to turn 90 degrees. So where is my... Now be careful with turn to heading and turn to rotation and that sort of thing, because they are different. So I'm just going to turn right for 90 degrees. Now I'm going to drive forward a certain amount, and then I'm going to turn like maybe 10 degrees. Now watch what happens when we're going to start introducing right now loops. Okay, and I'm going to repeat 10 times that I'm going to go forward. I'm going to drive forward a little bit. Let's go like 50 and see what happens. We'll play around with this. Okay, and then I'm going to turn right for 18 degrees. So 18 times 10, 180, right? So, 18 times 10 will be 180. Let's see what happens. So I'm going to refer. And it should make something that kind of, and obviously I need to make my lengths longer if I want to make this look right, right? So instead of 50 millimeters, I'm going to have to go more like, let's just try 100 and see what happens. You're kind of playing around with this too. Now, some of you have just straight lines in your name, which means that you don't have to do this, but you might want to play around with this anyway, because we're going to do this kind of thing also. Oh, it looks like I need to add one more little length down here outside of the loop to just drive forward 100 millimeters to end that loop. because it didn't quite make it back to the end. And that should get me back to the point. Now I can turn 180 degrees and go back the other way and make my second loop to make the rest of that be. So I think you get the process. All right, so pause this video. You're going to make your initials. And once you've done that, you're going to show your playground and your code. Now, if your code gets long, you can scroll in and out by holding down the control button and your mouse wheel to zoom in and out. And you can get this to whatever size will work in order to fit it. Oops, I keep on doing the wrong thing here. In order to fit it next to your, next to your playground, and you're going to take a picture of that whole thing. All right, so pause the video, go ahead and make that, and then we'll have one more thing to do. All right, so next thing is we're going to make a square. We're going to make it in two different ways. So I'm going to show you how to deal with this. First of all, I'm going to get rid of this stuff because I don't need it. Oh, you know what? I wonder, there is an undo button. Before I get rid of everything, I'm going to undo. Go ahead and save. Up here, you can call this, I'm not going to do it because I have things saved already, but you can call it your initials and then save that onto your device so that you've got that available for later, because we may go back to this and use it later. It's a good idea to save everything you're doing. Once you've saved it, then we're going to come back up here and we're going to call it something else again, okay, so that we can save that project again. All right, so here we go. We're going to get rid of some of that stuff. So now it should be just where I get to the point where I get to here, right? And we're going to just draw a square. Now, one way to draw the square is that we can drive forward for a certain amount. We can, let's make it, maybe 500, make it good size. Okay. We're going to turn right. We're going to drive forward, turn right, drive forward, turn right. Okay. So now one of the things that you can do that's kind of cool is if you pull this off and separate it, we can duplicate that. And duplicate it. And 1, 2, 3, and duplicate it. Okay, so you don't have to keep doing stuff that you want to. All right, so we've got that. We've got our pin down. We should be able to draw a square. All right, so the robot's doing that, what I want it to do. All right, now the other easier way of doing this is to loop, and we're going to talk about loops and variables and all sorts of crazy things as we go along, which is we're going to take those. I'm only going to save 2 of them. I'm going to get rid of the rest, and we're going to bring in that same repeat loop that we used before, but we're going to repeat this 4 times. Move these into here. So now let's look at what the robot's doing. 4 times it's going to drive forward, it's going to turn right for 90 degrees. So it should be all right. So the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is just to keep people honest, is we're going to put in a comment at the end. Actually, I take that back. We're going to print this. I'm going to show you how it works in a minute. So at the very end, you're going to say, instead of hello, you're going to replace that with your name. And you're going to be really excited. Cougar drew a square. Okay. And what's going to happen is that line of code is going to show up at the end in a monitor, which we'll talk about in just a moment. All right, so when we look at the monitor up here, which is this little button that's going to expand some things and show us our code, we go to actually, this is what the Python code looks like, by the way. We may start talking about this a little bit. And what it does is it prints it right down here in our monitor. Monitors are good, used for a lot of different things that we probably won't get into in the next 8 days, but we'll talk about that. So go ahead and take a picture of this, and that is going to go into your assignment. Okay. And one last thing to do, and we'll manipulate this next time, is we are going to draw a hexagon. But first, we're going to need to know the angle that we need to make that at. So there's a formula for that, which you may have learned already, is the number of sides minus 2 times 180 will give us the interior angles for any regular polygon, which a hexagon is 6-sided, right? So we're going to go apply that formula. It's 6 minus 2, whatever that is, okay, 4. And we're going to multiply that times 180 will give us our interior angles, okay, which is, that is not right. That is the sum of the interior angles. Okay, whoops. Now we need to divide that by 6, okay, and they're going to be 120 degree angles. All right, so our hexagon is 120 degrees instead of 90 degrees. So let's go to where we can start here. I'm going to refresh this. Now, let's go ahead and I'm going to drive forward a little bit more up here. I'm going to go like 300 and 300. Let's change that. So it gets a little bit farther. Now we're going to go ahead and drive. This time, I'm not going to have him. He's going to turn left, so he's still facing forward. We're still going to drive forward for 500 millimeters, but this time we're going to turn right for, instead of 90 degrees, we're going 120 degrees, but this is kind of weird. We actually have to go only 70 because we're going, it's a 120 degree angle. So we only want to go 60 degrees. So it's that 120 actually divided in half. Let me test this if I'm right. And we're going to repeat it 6 times. And let's go ahead and see if this is going to do what I think it should do. There we go. Yes. So because it's, and there is our hexagon. Because it's going, we have to divide that angle in half. So our angle that we're going is 60 degrees. So we're going to put, this time, Joe Cougar drew I change that to a hexagon. All right, that's enough for this time. Let's save that. Save both this as a new set of code and take a picture of this with your hexagon showing. And we'll talk about some things we're going to do with that next class. All right, folks, hope it worked out for you. See you next time.